And you're live.
Is that it? Okay. Robin Holstein. Is there a particular reason you break the member-only videos with you and Amanda into so many parts? I like the longer format because I can just let it play while I work on things. If I'm wearing headphones, I have to grab the phone, or I'm streaming on the Kindle, go back upstairs to start the next part. Just wondering. Yes, there's a couple reasons. They load way faster when they're 30-second clips as opposed to 2.5-hour clips like pulling the podcast. The pulling the podcast is actually filmed on a camera versus a video camera. And now all the new cameras, there was some governing body for these lobbyists went in when all these high-end camera companies started making it so you could shoot video on digital cameras, and made it so that they had to break those clips in. They couldn't film continuous like we do on this big camera right here. So that's why they were smaller. The other thing is, a lot of times when I'm outside on the compound, my feed is not as good, and it won't load big files, right? I can't pull up big YouTube files without them buffering insanely, whereas the smaller clips I can. And I understand it's frustrating because people come up to me all the time. I have earphones in my head, in my ears, and people want to talk to me, and typically my hands are dirty, especially if I'm outside or in the kitchen. I'm doing whatever. So I have to wash my hands, dry them, take my earphones out, turn the Bluetooth off, and now hear what you wanted to say, which most of the time didn't matter anyways. So
This meeting totally could have been an email kind of thing.
I get it. Now, on the other hand, it's a Kindle. Take your Kindle with you. I carry an iPad around half the time. It's doable. Every time I do a live feed at night, which runs up to 90 minutes sometimes, I'm holding an enormous iPad. Completely doable.
That's why you're so buff.
And, I mean, maybe you're a complete badass and you actually just fucking work straight through for 2 hours. But is it really that big of a deal to 30 minutes take your shit out? I mean, are you not pausing anyway somewhere? So yeah, that's why. Cobra Kyle, John, I've heard you talk about the quality of the tarps that you get from Costco and Sam's Club going down. Is there a material you could use to sew your own tarps that would last longer? If so, it would probably be a good seller as well. So if we do it, it's going to be super expensive. Here's what you guys don't realize, right? All the good idea fairies. You guys should do this. You have sewing machines. To do anything long, you have to have huge run-out tables. It's very heavy. It's different equipment. We can't build enough of what we make already that we're really good at. So to start doing tarps, not worth doing. What should we do? Maybe all tarps used to be canvas, and they lasted forever, I guess. I have that perception, right? Brandel was saying he thought you had to replace them every 6 years. I think you have to wax them, or they have like an oil coating on them that keeps them waterproof. What breaks them down is UV light. UV light is, number one, it's harsher now than it used to be, I think. Number two, the products are not built in the manner that they used to be. They make them, they literally go into board meetings, and they're like, hey, we have this product. And they get with the engineers, and the money guys are like, okay, this light bulb will run for 100 years. We're a light bulb company. If your light bulbs run for 100 years, nobody's going to buy but one light bulb. We can't resell these. How do you make them so they fail? And that's the conversation that's had. It's called planned obsolescence. If that's what's happening with the tarps, I don't know. Maybe it's just that China, who's making these tarps, has decided how to make them out of a thinner material because they do feel thinner and more supple. You have another option. You can go to billboardvinyl.com, I think is what it's called, and they pull down these huge billboards. They're like 60 feet, on the side of the interstates. Those are super heavy vinyl. They're very heavy, and they're very, very durable. They last a long, long time. We've had them here on the property. The ones we happen to have were McDonald's French fry billboards. I fly drones around a lot here, and I want my videos to look nice, and I don't want billboards,
French
right?
fries.
So I want all my shit matchy-match. I don't really care what it is as long as it matches, and those blue tarps work. So is there something better? Probably. If you go look at tarps, look at canvas tarps, like just at Tractor Supply, right? I'm sure Tractor Supply is not the highest quality. It's the quality that works, kind of, right, for most stuff. And even a Tractor Supply tarp, a big tarp is $500, $600.
Yeah.
So what's the answer? I don't know what the answer is. The real answer is we use these dog kennels, And we put the tarps over them real tight. And then we used to put a pole up. Now we have a bar that makes the tarps last longer. But the tarps are failing where the grommets are. So we could take the tarp, probably put a channel in there, put a stick there, and then punch around the stick and pull so it pulls all evenly rather than the grommet. But our sewing machine punching those holes in there probably is going to perforate that, and it's going to eventually fail where the stitch lines were, because it's like, dotted paper. You can tear tearable paper. So the real fix for it is just to put a piece up, build a roof up there with metal, which will last, forever-ish. But it adds weight. I like to be able to ideally we do it 6 months, but really we end up doing it every year. We actually move all of the kennels. Where those dogs have been standing, where the dog's been pooping, where the mud's been, where everything's been, and all that material's built up. I like to pull them forward onto fresh material and let that kind of get air and get sunlight. And they're just heavier. We could totally do it. I mean, we have plenty of bodies here to do it. But push come to shove, I can do it with one other person. With myself, it's the tarp. It's lighter. And when we add, the pitch and the metal and the roof, we're going to add a couple 100 pounds onto that thing, and now it becomes something different than what it was. It's just about everything we originally did to be able to do by ourselves, and I kind of still have that in mind, right? If things go bad or whatever, how do we do this on our own? And you're like, well, John, you have all that equipment. You could totally do it. You can, but these are 4 panels, and then you got to unscrew them, and you got to level. It's just more work. I look at everything in minutes, and still, as poor quality as the tarps have become, it's still faster than the other options, because we're limited on 10 acres. And I know guys are listening to this are like, man, I wish I had 10 acres. I'm only on 1. And I feel sorry for you guys, because you're very limited as to what you can do, because I'm sitting on 10. And we put permanent structures in place, and we're like, man, I really wish this was somewhere else, right? So we built a lot of stuff where we just bored holes, or used post hole diggers and put the wood in the ground and then tamped the dirt back around it. That'll last for a while, but I mean, if you've got a structure up that's built, you're much better off probably putting it in concrete. And when that hole, put gravel in there so there's a place for the moisture to go. And guys really building long-term now, they're putting steel in. And the steel is built where there's a hole, so even with condensation inside, it can still breathe. There's 100 ways to do everything. It's just, what are you building it for, right? And with the cost of things now, I believe while things they'll ebb and flow in price, they will never go back down. When inflation comes up and things cost that price, and the world gets better, they never lower the price. Your dollar just goes further and you have more dollars, but the prices never go back down. So when we build stuff, I want to build it the right way, not the way that, I don't want to build it the now way. I want to build it the right way.
Well, and a lot of our stuff was built the now way, just because it was like, we've got to get this put up so that these chickens have a place to stay or whatever.
Not only that, there was stuff we didn't know. I mean,
yeah.
And you have to do it the other way to get to the correct way a lot of times. Like, we had contractors in here. We bought the property for $140,000. And I secured that loan with a couple vehicles, paid that loan off, took a construction loan for $500,000, which is also, I mean, we dragged that out because of some tax advantages. But we owe nothing on that loan right now. But when the contractors came to me, they're like, hey, we have these doors. Where do you want the light switches? I'm like, well, put them where they should go, right? Put the light. I don't know. I've never built this. So what did they do? Because the door opens this way. Okay, the door opens this way, and this entire wall is glass. The door switch should always go, I know this now, the light switch should always go opposite of the hinges. Well, that's not what they did, because they didn't want to have to come across and open this encasement and put a switch here properly. So they went the easy way, where they could just cut a hole in the plywood and put a switch here. So the switches in upstairs doors in those offices where the tattoo studio is or was, and the reptile room they're behind the doors. I still to this day go in those motherfuckers and reach where a light switch should be. It's the now versus, because you don't know. Like, I didn't know. I learned a ton building this out, and we didn't know it until it was wrong.
Right.
Even now, I walk out in the big garage there, and when I open the door, I go to push the garage door roll up. It's not there. It's never been there.
Never been there.
But you were conditioned from all as a child walking in the garage and hitting the switch that's right there. It's just it's never been there, but I still reach for that. And it's just shit like that, man. The other question, I guess, is if you could no longer get tarps, what would you do? Like, we buy tarps almost. I have a feed shed. It's a building just like this one, right? I think that one's 12 feet by 40, 12 by 36. It's just outdoor stuff. It's stuff to do with the animals, stuff that goes outside that I don't want in the weather, right? And every time we go to Sam's Club or Costco, we buy tarps. They come in 2-packs. Sometimes I buy 4 if the cart's not full. If the cart's full, I only buy 1, but I always buy tarps. I have dozens of those. Well, I'll bet I have 40 or 50 packages. So there's probably 80 tarps sitting out there. Out of the sun, 2 to a package, sitting on wire racking, just like we have all in the shop, because I don't want to have to build tarps. I want to use them as a disposable thing. And you could make those tarps go last longer if you took the old tarp off, put a new tarp on, and put the old tarp back over it, because it's the sunlight that kills it for the most part. Makes it wear out when it starts turning white. That's UV light. And now we're seeing them fail in the grommets. And the only reason that would be is that the material is a different material. And that's what's happening. So, Nightlife Kennel, what up? Another question, probably an odd one. Now, Nightlife Kennel was the dude talking about starting a leather company the other day. And he has also said he runs a landscaping business. Him and his father, I believe he said, and they cannot get anybody to work, and they have more work than they can possibly handle. Probably an odd one. I've made my YouTube and brand off of hunting with Hounds content. Currently, we're the largest YouTube channel and brand in the raccoon hunting niche. Live in North Carolina. Had an organizer of semi-local Prepper Homestead Festival approach me about speaking on the use of importance of hounds and utilizing them with homesteading for meat gathering, protection, watchdog, etc. Unfortunately, the schedule doesn't allow for me to go to speak. But thinking back on it now, is it even a topic that fits the prepper homestead lifestyle? I almost feel like training and using hounds for hunting is more of a tip of the hat to the traditional rather than the practical skill utilized to survive. Back in the early settler days, a good hound definitely was needed. Back in the early settler days, a good hound definitely was needed. Now it is more of a hobby. Should I even consider talking to more groups about this in the future, or is it a waste of conversation for these types of events? I don't know, man. If you were at our event, which you should be, presenting and talking about this, I would be interested in it. Now, what are we prepping for? There is a ton of people that are building their life to go back to the old ways. I was listening to Mike Glover on my friend Jack Carr's podcast today, and they were talking about we are the last generation that grew up in the analog world. Yep. And he said he and his wife go to, at night. We try not to talk about it in front of the kids. What these kids have it so fucked up these days. They don't know anything other than the digital world, and they are manipulated and programmed through algorithms to have sets of beliefs, and they don't know what it was to even think for yourself. And they were talking about when he was a child, mom put him in martial arts, and he didn't really like Taekwondo because it's more of a scripted dance thing. And I know you Taekwondo guys are going to tell me how you can kill me with your death poop touch, but it was ninjutsu, right? They were talking about Stephen Hayes and the American Ninjutsu Society, and I know a lot of guys that trained under him. I know a lot of guys that did actual ninjutsu, went back to Japan and trained. I was very interested in that stuff, all the, the Shokasugi movies and stuff like that, and the Mac Bolan books, right? As a child, that's what we did. You heard Scully talk about it a lot, right? All we did was play Army. And that's what Mike Glover was saying. He's like, my vision board was setting up LPOPs and thinking about how we were going to do raids and basically insurgency type stuff. And, all those guys grew up. They were doing all that shit before Mike was Special Forces, before Jack was SEALs. all those dudes, like we all did all that shit, right? And these kids now don't have that. But a lot of people believe that it is better to raise your kids in the old manner and be prepared, right? If the power does go out, or if they did outlaw certain things. I think the hound thing is cool. I hate hounds. I don't want to listen to hounds. I had a beagle here, and all it was constantly under my feet and yipping. And I'm like, Jason, do you want this? He's like, yes. He's like, I'll get it next week. I go, if you don't get it today, I'm fucking killing it.
Oh, okay.
Shit, okay, I got a break for this for a minute.
And you're live.
All right, so I don't know, man. It sounds to me like you're talking yourself out of this, and if you don't want to do it, you should not do it.
Why would hunting dogs be antiquated? That's basically what he was saying.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why, because I don't know much about it. I know they use those dogs to tree the raccoons, and then they shoot the raccoons out of the tree. But it's the same. That's how they do bears. Mm-hmm. They do bears that way. They hunt true fox hunts from horseback are done with dogs. They still do that over in jolly old England. Cougars, mountain lions, a lot of times they will tree those. They use dogs and packs of dogs to hunt pigs.
That's what I was going to say.
And then guys will dispatch the pigs. Sometimes the dogs will dispatch the pigs. Sometimes the guys shoot the pigs. But they also use them to get close to the pigs, and then they spear them also. There's different types of hunting.
Well, I've even seen, I mean, I'm sure this is super popular, but I didn't know about it until I moved here. The GPS hunting, they'll put a GPS on the dog and just let them free.
Yep.
And then when they stop, that means that they've cornered something, so then they'll just go over there. And
yes, and there's some laws that protect those dogs, or those dogs and those hunters. Mm-hmm. I know Goldshaw Farms has several videos where he is very upset about people crossing his fences and hunting animals on his property. Mm-hmm. And you never know what the real deal with that is. It content? Does it bother him? I mean, when he makes those videos where he is upset or protecting it, the numbers are enormous, right? Goldshaw Farms has been around for a long time. He was never on my radar until he made a video about how dare Tractor Supply kill all these birds, right? And they had these brooders that put the birds at eye level, and they had heaters built into them and everything. So all the chickens were in there, and it was a lot easier for the employees to take care of them, I think. But it put dead animals at eye level. Baby birds, they die.
They die.
No matter what. So Tractor Supply gets those in the mail the same way we get them in the mail. Mm-hmm. And inevitably, when you open the box, some of them die. And when you have thousands of birds, like Tractor Supply has, a percentage is going to die. So they're just in there dead. And when they're in the wood chips in there, and they're all huddled up, you're not going to see the dead one as much. And the employee, when it comes in, will just pull the dead one out. Well, they had them at eye level, so people were seeing them. And there could be things wrong with these brooders. But he made this video, and it got millions of views, and everybody's like protesting Tractor Supply. So much so, Tractor Supply sold all those. They actually threw them away, and employees took them home. And over the last couple years, Marketplace was flooded with these brooders. And they seem great to me because they're contained. You're not going to have dust all over the place. And they were just easier to take, it was easier to take care of, it would seem. But that's what Goldshaw's known for. Mm-hmm. To me, he does have an audience. His audience does, when I read the comments, seem to be very different than our audience. But he's monetized that, and that's his thing. And he does a lot of this, you can't come on my property and you crossed my property. And when he confronts these hunters, they very much seem to know the laws and the facts. And well, yes, I would also be pissed off if you were on my property with your dogs. In fact, I would probably kill your dogs if they were on my property. But I don't know if it's fences, or I don't know what the real deal is, but that's about what I know about hound hunting.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting he made sure to put in their meat gathering.
Yeah.
So if you're in a survival situation, you're going to use those dogs to go get those raccoons because you're hungry and you need to eat. You got to feed your family.
Yeah, I've never had raccoon. I've eaten skunk. I've never had raccoon. I would totally, if there was a restaurant where I could go to every weekend and eat some different kind of wild animal, I would totally do that. I would try everything.
Yeah.
I would totally rescue a little raccoon baby.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I know that's going to be an asshole cat that has thumbs.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they are
yeah.
so fucking cute, but you know they are going to be a terror.
Yeah, I mean, we can have raccoons legally. You can keep raccoons
Oh,
as
they're
pets.
so cute.
So I don't know, man. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. I think you're the dude that said you had more work than you could possibly do landscaping. So it sounds like you're at full capacity. A lot of times we say that, though, and that's not the case, because if you have more work than you can handle, but you're also doing this YouTube channel that is the #1 in the genre on YouTube, I would think you'd be making good money at that thing. I would think that if that is in fact the case, that you are the #1 in that genre, certainly you're monetized. You're selling Nightlife Kennel product. You have some kind of trackers and GPS stuff that you're selling to your customers because you make money on something you don't have to do. You've got a line of branded clothing wear. You've got a beef jerky. You've gotten with somebody and you're selling their dog collars and their trackers and their dog harnesses and their kennels. You've got a deal with Impact Crates probably, and you've got an affiliate code with a dog food brand as well as a CBD joint supplement for dogs. So, right? You have all those things, right? Why are you working? So which one's not working, right? Or should you stop one and put all the time into something else? And I say that because if that's the case, and you are the #1 in your YouTube channel genre, you'd be a fool not to go out to these places, because you're going to create more people. There's a goodwill with children is huge. I've been in industry now long enough that I have customers that are coming back and they're like, hey, I just got out of college. I never needed your product. But I remember I went to a gun show with my dad and you were really cool and you showed me, you put this vest on me and you gave me some stickers and you talked to me, and I remember that. And that's just goodwill, right? You win the parents, but you're going to gain the children in the future by I always stop and ham around and mess around with kids, right? I always talk to kids. Because not because they're going to be money in the future, just because that's what you should do, right? I tell kids things now. I'm like, look, I'm going to tell you this thing and you're going to hear this one way. And you might even be mad about this right now, but at some point in your life, a light switch is going to change when you're in a different position or you've matured a little bit. And this is going to be a pivotal factor in your life. You're going to remember this and go, holy shit, he was right. And you're going to carry this with you, and it's going to become part of who you are for the rest of your life. And there are many times when young adults have messaged me and said, today was that day. I remember you telling me that. So I think you should show up. A lot of times we say we can't, and what we mean is
we don't want to.
We don't want to. I get invited places all the time, and I'm just a weirdo, right? I have no problem having 1,000 people here on my property, but I can escape those people, right? When I don't want to talk to you, I'll just stop fucking talking to you, right? If you ask me how to do something and I tell you, or we're telling you, start giving me excuses and countering why you can't do what you just asked me how to do, I'm fucking done with you, right? You will literally see me in a crowd of people and I'll just walk, or I'll be having a really good conversation and some goober will walk up
and interrupt
and start asking you questions that have not, and I'll be like, hey, you are totally fucking this conversation up. You know when you always hear you're that guy? Look around in this crowd. Do you know who that guy is? If you don't know, it's you. And I get invited all the time to go places. It's just not my place, right? I have built and developed my life that enough people want to be involved that they will come here. So it's easy for me to tell you, yeah, you should take off and, not have anybody, get somebody to take care of your animals this weekend and go do this thing, when I myself don't take off and go do this thing. But I'm losing a lot by not going out to Texas to these events at Jack's Place, as well as others that are going on in Texas that are huge, because we would draw more crowd. That's new, fresh blood. We can convert them. Now, we do the live feeds. So when we do a live feed with Dangerous History Podcast this weekend, or Joel Riles or Jack, any of the others, right? All three of our audiences are on there. We use StreamYard. So my viewers are on there. Nicole's viewers are on there. And then the guest viewers are on. So we have the potential, if I say something, I am very I do not go out of my way to be who I am not on those videos, right? I don't want somebody to come over and go, oh, I really like what this dude's saying. And then 5 days later, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you said fuck. Like, I want you to know who the fuck I am right from the beginning so that we just weed you out, right, if you're not our people.
There's no confusion.
Yeah. But I think you're losing. If you want to do this, then do it. If you don't want to do it,
then don't.
Then don't.
And you don't necessarily never leave. Like, you've gone to an event at Nicole's place, and I know there was talk of you guys going to another one that just scheduling didn't work.
Yeah, Vegas.
Yeah, so it's not that you won't do it, it's just that it's hard for you to get the right circumstances.
Well, yeah. and the other thing is it has to be worth it, right? Yeah. Like not necessarily monetarily, but from a time aspect.
Our level's a little different. We've been doing this for 35 years, right? We're not trying to figure this out. We're already doing this.
And the other thing a lot of people I don't think can even relate with is we are doing what we want to do. Like, it's not oh God, I have to go to work today. It's let's go see what difference we can make in somebody's life today. Let's go see how badass we can make shit today. Like, it's a get, not a have to. And I know that there are a lot of people in the world who don't have that. They don't even have that mindset.
They're still looking for their people.
Right. Yeah. And like we have found ours. So we don't really have to go out and do other events because, well, we just don't have to.
Trying to tear